Hello, everyone. I am Sean, and welcome once again to my Horror Corner. As always, thank you so much for watching. I know there's all kinds of YouTube videos out there. There's so much content. So just the fact that you take a few minutes to watch my channel, I really do appreciate that. And a special thank you to everybody that has subscribed. That's gone up more than I could have possibly imagined. I can do lives now, and we'll be doing one. I think my first one on June 1st. So, yeah, thank you to everybody who has subscribed to the channel. Uh, your support means the world to me. And today we have got a guest on, my friend Bo from Critic After Dark. Bo, thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you so much for inviting me. I'm always happy to do anything. I
Yeah,
love it.
we tried to get together a couple times, and our schedules just don't keep lining up. Like you've got something going on, or I've got something going on, and it's
I
been
know.
difficult. But we
And
finally got
usually
this
I'm
one to
not
work.
busy either. That's the crazy
Yeah,
part. Usually I'm wide open. But
yeah.
yeah, just last couple weeks been chaos for some reason.
Yeah, it happens. Don't worry about it. But so, go ahead and if you want to take a minute and promote your channel, and then I have a question for you that I'm going to ask you, and then we'll start talking about the movie. But yeah, go ahead and promote what you do.
Sure, yeah. You can find me right here on YouTube. It's Critic After Dark, all one word. And I'm basically like right now, I'm just kind of trying to figure out what my channel is and what it's going to be in the future. So I'm just bouncing all over the place, doing all kinds of random crazy things. But
Okay.
at the moment, I'm showing off my entire movie collection, which is, it might take me all year because I have, as Sean already knows, I have a pretty massive movie collection, somewhere
You
between
do.
I think about 7 to 8 thousand Blu-ray and 4Ks. I don't
Wow.
collect DVD because I have no space. So I
Okay.
used to have like 15,000, and I had to get rid of all my DVDs because I ran out of room. It sucked, man. It hurt.
I
but
bet.
but yeah, so I'm just showing that off piece at a time. And I'm also doing deep dives into 1980s horror one year at a time as well, and pulling
Okay.
everything out of my collection that I own, and watching them all and ranking them all. And yeah, that's about all she wrote for
Yeah,
me at the moment.
I watched your I think your first one that you did on that because I think you said you watched like I can't remember. You watched them all in like 3 days, right? From the your
30,
first group
30,
there.
yeah,
Yeah.
1980. I had 30. I didn't even realize I had 30 from 1980 horror movies. And
Yeah.
I watched them all in about 4.5 days.
Four and a
It
half
was,
days. Okay.
it was pretty intense. I slept like 3 hours a night.
Damn. Yeah, that's a lot. But yeah, your collection is huge. And I know like you normally take them down and stack them up beside you. And I kind of see a space back there behind you. So I'm assuming you've got some off the shelf right now. Yeah.
Yes, that's so at the beginning up there, what you're seeing is 1980. I put them
Okay.
back into the top of that shelf ranked because I finished it
Okay.
on my episode. And now I have 1981 sitting beside it, which is the rest of that there is
Okay.
1981. I have around 40 81, so I'm going to do that next, which
Okay.
is
Very
crazy.
cool. Yeah. So if you don't, go check out Bo's channel. It's a lot of fun watching him go through his stuff and talk about all of it. And you collect it's everything, right? Not just horror. You have all kinds of movies in there, I've noticed.
Yes, yeah. When I'm doing my showing off my whole collection, I'm doing everything. So like my wife collects a lot of movies, so I have shit tons of rom-coms I've never seen. I have two kids that are 20 and 19 years old now, and I've been collecting like since they're kids. So I have a ton of family movies and
Okay.
children's and animated. I have some series like DreamWorks Animation. I have completed. I have every
Okay.
single movie they've ever released. Pretty close on Disney. It's yeah. It's a disaster on here. My wife hates it.
That's all right. It sounds pretty cool, actually. I don't have. Yeah, I thought I had a pretty good sized collection until I saw some of your stuff and heard you talking about it, and then Brendan hearing him, and I was like, "Damn, I got to step up my game because these two guys are blowing me out of the water right now." So I've been trying to step it up and get a few more here and there. Trying to get everything I can on 4K, and if it's not available on a 4K, if I don't have it on Blu-ray, then I go that way with it. But yeah,
Yeah,
that's kind
that's
of what
how
I've been doing.
I work too. I start at 4K if I don't have the movie. If I already have a movie, I usually don't bother upgrading to 4K just because like I live in Canada and our pricing here is pretty expensive on 4Ks.
Okay.
like a boutique label 4K, like say an Arrow Video, you're looking at
Yeah.
like $65 to $80 a piece.
Wow.
So if I already have the Arrow Video Blu-ray and I paid like 35, 40 for that, I'm probably not going to drop another 70 on the
Yeah, just
4K.
to get
It's
the
just it's too much, especially when you collect like me and you're like you like buying everything.
yeah, no, I get
So,
that.
but
I typically, I mean, if I have it on Blu-ray, it just depends on how much I like it. If I really, really like it, I'll go ahead and upgrade. But
that's 100%
if I
true.
had that same cost issue that you were dealing with, I might not. So yeah,
Yeah, it's
but
I
that's
do
crazy.
that too. Like I have all my faves. I'm gonna get all the best, all my favorite movies of all time on 4K in the best
Yeah.
edition. But
Okay. Well, I was going to ask you a question. So even though you've been on my channel before, but every time you've been on here, it's we've also had other people on. We've done like group stuff, so I've never really asked you this. Um, but anytime somebody's on like by themselves for the first time, just because I'm always curious, what got you? I want to know what got you into horror. Like, have you always been a horror fan since you were a kid, or is there something that happened that got you into it? So, what got you into horror?
uh definitely been a horror fan since I was so young. I don't even know the age. Probably way too young to be watching what I
Okay.
was watching. But
Okay.
um I think it might have been my stepfather. Uh that's the earliest time. I remember when I was really young, he used to like wait until my mom went to bed, and then he'd be like come in my room and wake me up and bring me out in the living room. We'd watch like Fright Night and
Okay.
Return of the Living Dead, and
Okay.
and then I would be so
Gotcha.
scared I'd have to go sleep with them that night, and they'd be
Yeah.
my mom would be pissed in the morning. but but yeah, I think it was probably him that got me into it. I grew up uh, in the late '80s and then throughout the '90s, and so I grew up with like all the Halloween movies, all the Friday the 13th. I'm that generation.
Got it.
Same as you,
Okay.
practically, right?
Yeah, yeah, pretty much. Yeah, I was born in '72, but yeah, it was the '80s was my time. So I grew up watching that same kind of stuff. Although it was a little bit different for me. I mean, I won't go into a lot of detail because people have already on my channel heard me talk about it before. But I was scared of everything as a kid. Like everything scared me. But what started me watching them was my dad and his sister, my aunt, loved the Universal monsters, and those didn't freak me out, so I could watch those. So that's how I started, like Dracula, Frankenstein, the Wolfman. I really liked that stuff, and then it just slowly started progressing a little bit from there. But I always had to like watch them with my dad because I'd be scared, and I'd do the same thing. I'd end up sleeping in my parents' room because whatever we watched, part of like scared the shit out of me. But I
Yeah.
still remember the first time I was actually able to sit down and watch a horror movie by myself and still sleep in my room afterwards was My Bloody Valentine, the first one. Um,
Nice. Good one,
and
too.
it was scaring me a little bit, but at the same time, I loved it. And then when I was actually able to go to bed and sleep the next day, I was like, "Oh, I grew up. I'm a man now. I can watch this shit." Yeah,
Yeah.
that's what did it.
Yeah. Yeah. I can't remember the last time I was like truly scared by a movie. It's been a long time, like a lot of us.
Yeah,
But
it's you really get desensitized.
yes.
There was a movie that actually I can't remember if it was last year or the year before last. And it's really not even, I mean, I don't know. I think it's considered more of a suspense movie, but it actually had me on the edge of my seat because it let me know that apparently I have a fear of heights that I didn't know I
Oh,
had.
yeah, I know where
And
you're going with
so,
this.
yeah, so I watched Fall for the first time, and I've got like a big, 60-inch TV, and so I'm sitting there and I'm watching Fall, and some of those shots, like I was panicking, like I was like,
Oh
"Holy
yeah.
shit, I'm gonna fall!" Like I was
Me
freaking
too.
out,
Me
but
too.
at
I
the
had
same
to
time, I
pause it a few
loved it because I
times.
hadn't had that feeling in a long time. So yeah,
Yep. Yep. I know I had to pause that a few times and go relax for a couple minutes because it was giving me rushes. It's
yeah, it's
brutal.
intense. It's a really good movie. All
Heck
right. Well, we'll get into what we've got for today. Today, Bo and I are going to be talking about Hereditary. I just recently picked this one up on 4K. Um, yeah, I think it's got the Blu-ray in it as well. But yeah, I just recently picked this one up. I thought I had it on Blu-ray, but I realized I didn't own it at all.
oh wow,
And
yeah.
when I started thinking that I was going to do a review on it and talk to you about it, I'm like, I need to get this. So yeah, I just got it not long ago at all. But yeah, so we're going to be talking about Hereditary. We talked a little bit before we started recording about what both of us thought in the beginning and where we're at now a little bit. So we'll get into that. But first, I'm going to give a brief overview for the movie real quick. Hereditary says when the matriarch of the Graham family passed away, her daughter and grandchildren began to unravel cryptic and increasingly terrifying secrets about their ancestry, trying to outrun the sinister fate that they have now inherited. Uh, Hereditary premiered January 21st, 2018 at the Sundance Film Festival and then was released June 8th of 2018. Directed and written by Ari Aster, produced by Kevin Frakes, Lars Knudsen, and Buddy Patrick. Cinematography by Powell Porgaleski, edited by Jennifer Lame and Lucian Johnston. Music by Colin Stetson. Uh, Production companies were A24, Palm Star Media, Finch Entertainment, and Windy Hill Pictures, distributed by A24. A runtime of 127 minutes. We're going to get into that here in a little bit. Budget of 10 million, box office of 87.8 million, so huge success. And I think this is the first movie that I've done in quite a while where both the critic scores and the audience scores are so high. Normally, one's really good and the other one's not. But Rotten Tomatoes, 90% from critics, 71% from the audience, and on IMDb, 7.3 out of 10. Without spoiling anything and getting too far ahead of ourselves, runtime being over 2 hours. Does that bother you? Do you typically prefer that your horror is a little bit shorter, or does that time frame not bother you?
Usually, I like horror movies to be shorter than that. But
Okay.
when I love a movie, it could go on for 3 and I'd probably be okay. It
Okay.
depends on how much it has me sucked in.
Gotcha. This one, to me, watching it now, and like I said, I told you before we started recording, I've kind of been all over the place with this movie, but watching it now, it doesn't feel like it's 2 hours to me. I feel like the pacing's pretty good. It goes by pretty well.
I agree, 100%.
Yeah. So I normally don't put a whole lot into what critics say, but I do like to kind of read an overall consensus. Again, critics are fond of this movie. For the most part, it says Hereditary uses a classic setup as the framework, and then it becomes a harrowing, uncommonly unsettling horror film whose cold touch lingers long beyond the closing credits. Completely agree. I told you when I watched this movie the first time, like I couldn't stop thinking about it after I got home. Like I was still laying there thinking about some of the things that I had seen in this movie. So yeah, it definitely is one that sticks with you. Some
Agreed.
good, some bad.
Yeah, it has a lasting effect.
It really does. We're going to talk a little bit. I'm just going to mention a few people in the cast, and so then we'll kind of talk about the cast, like the performances, characters, that kind of thing. Okay.
Sounds good.
So we've got Tony Collette as Annie Graham, Gabriel Byrne as Steve Graham, Alex Wolff as Peter Graham, Millie Shapiro as Charlie Graham, Ann Dowd as Joan, and Mallory Bechtel as Bridget. One thing that I feel like pretty much everybody that's a fan of this movie agrees on, and I'm sure you feel the same way, but I'll give you a chance to say otherwise. But Toni Collette is absolutely amazing in this film. I mean, she's a good actress anyway, but she's amazing in this movie, I think.
100% deserved the Oscar in 2018
Yeah.
and was snubbed. I don't even think she was nominated, which is just a fucking tragedy in my opinion. But
Yeah, I completely agree. And like I said, I mean, she's a good actress. I'd always known she was a good actress, but I was really blown away by her performance in this. And I also think Alex Wolff, who played Peter, the son, I thought he did a really good job as well.
Excellent, man. He blew my mind as well. He's pretty. His performance is on par with hers.
Yeah.
He just gets more screen time than him. So
right.
She really is the star. But
I
he's
completely
good, man.
agree.
He's
And I don't think anybody did a bad job. I mean, everybody was fine. It's just I felt like those two stood out, especially her. But yeah, performances are pretty good all the way around. I feel like in this movie.
Yep, it's Ari Aster. He must be a good director that can like really suck performances out of people because everybody does a solid job.
Yeah,
and no complaints on any of the performances.
Now, one thing though, so for a long time, when I first got started doing like YouTube stuff, I had such a hard time like separating the actor from the character. I've gotten a little better at that now that I've been doing this for a little bit. But one of the things that I've noticed, though, as great as these performances are, because what I'm about to say is not a knock on anybody's performance. I think everybody did a really good job. But Are there any characters in this movie that you actually like?
That's an excellent question because this is one of the deeply depressing, bleak movies, maybe of all time. Like it's
Yeah,
pretty. There's nothing happy, and
right.
it's all the characters are just in states of absolute misery throughout the whole movie, and it's hard to like anybody.
Yeah, I think
Um,
the only one that is even close to me is the dad, Steve.
yes,
Just because he's trying to keep everything together, but I mean,
yeah,
yeah,
his whole life is just going to shit, and everybody's
yeah,
acting crazy around him, and he doesn't know why until it's too late. So,
right,
yeah, he would probably be the closest person to likable.
yeah. Which normally that's kind of a knock for me. Like if there's not at least one character in the movie that I can kind of get behind and support, even if it's the villain. I mean, like when you watch slasher films, like if you watch Michael Myers, you're mainly watching it for Michael. So it doesn't matter if
Yeah,
you like the people he's killing or not. You're watching it because of Michael. But if
exactly.
there's a movie that doesn't have that kind of character, if I don't like anybody in the film, I kind of struggle with the movie. But this one's a little bit of an exception because again, other than the dad a little bit, I don't find any of these characters likable at all. But
Yeah,
the acting's so great at the same time that it's like, it's okay. It's fine.
that's the truth, and I'm in the same boat as you because we've talked before about both of us are not the biggest fans of what they call elevated horror,
Right.
and this is definitely falls into the category of an
It
elevated
does.
horror movie, but it's done so perfectly that I just it's impossible to deny that every once in a while in this genre of elevated horror you get an absolute gem.
Yeah,
That
no, I completely agree. It's definitely an exception there because just exactly like you said, I'm not really a fan of the elevated horror, and I'm not a slow burn guy. If a movie's slow, I'm out. And
yeah, starting to doze
this
off and
one,
have a nap.
this one almost. I mean, I don't know. I can see where some people would watch this and it would could be too slow for them. I can
Yep.
definitely see that 100%.
Oh yeah.
But for some reason, this one flows for me. It's okay. And
Yep.
we were, like we said, it doesn't feel like it's a 2 hour movie. I think it just the performances are so great. The pacing is really good because even though it might be long, there's something going on all the time, even if it's just building and tense feeling. There's something happening constantly, so it just kind of keeps
Exactly.
you in it. Yeah,
Especially when you get to this mid-level twist that happens that we'll
right.
get to,
Yeah,
because once that happens shit just changes and now you're really focused and you're sucked in.
yeah,
So
I agree 100%. There's really only one part of this movie that I kind of check out on, and we'll get to that as we start going through it. Only other things that I really had that I was going to mention, I normally try to find some kind of facts, like as far as production or something. There's not that much out there really on this. The only thing that I thought stood out was that it's Ari Aster's directorial debut, which
exactly.
is amazing to me that this is his first one and to knock it out of the park like he did.
Yes,
Um,
I
yeah,
agree. He must have
and
grew up like he must be a real film lover because
yeah,
he really knows how to work those cameras well.
right. And he made a comment. I was just reading some things that he said about the movie, and basically he feels like he said that this is almost two movies in one. The first half of the film is more of a drama and a family tragedy, and then the second half of the film it turns into a full-on nightmare. And I completely
100%.
100% agree. Yeah, it really is that way
Yep. Yeah,
because
the
it
first
does.
half you could consider it not even a horror movie, really.
Right.
It's just a drama about a weird, uncomfortable family,
Yeah,
and yeah, and then it turns into fucking gore fest by the time it's over.
it does. It amazes me how the tone changes so fast. And there's a place where it really seems to happen to me, and we'll get into that a little bit. So we're gonna start walking through the movie now. I broke this down. I was telling Bo into about 6 sections. So I'm just gonna kind of touch on a few things, and then he and I'll talk about those things, get his opinion, see what he thought, that kind of thing, and we'll see how this goes. If we get ahead of ourselves, that's perfectly fine as well. But so the the opening of the film, we get Annie and her family attending the funeral of her mom. We get a little bit of an introduction to these characters. We find out, Annie's going to this support group, um, and that she really didn't have a great relationship with her mom until her daughter's Charlie's birth. She had even kind of kept her son away from her mom, but then um, did things differently with her daughter. Anything about the opening stand out to you? We were kind of talking about none of these characters seem very likable, and that to me that kind of happens. I mean, you feel sorry for her, but at the same time, she just doesn't come across as really that likable either. I mean, it's a fine introduction; it gives you a decent setup, but I don't think there's really anything in it that stands out or blows anything away. It's just setting up what's coming.
Yes, exactly. It's hard. The opening to this movie is where you could lose some people because it's when it first starts, you're like, where's this gonna go? Like, is it just gonna be this serious drama? Like, I've seen a lot of dramas, and I don't really know if I'm in for another one.
Right.
So the opening is hard for me. Like, it's tough to talk about. I feel like it it does suck me in. Like, it's hard. I'm talking for other people, but I'll just talk for myself. It does suck me in.
Yeah.
Some people it might not.
No, I agree with you. I think what does it for me, because like I told you before we started recording, the first time I saw this movie, I had gone to the theater and saw it. I came out, I absolutely loved it, thought it was amazing. And then when everything got shut down during COVID, I went to watch it again, thinking, yeah, I love this movie. Let me watch this. And I didn't even get halfway through it and shut it off because I was just like, this movie sucks. Like, this is so depressing and slow and bad. And maybe it's just the wrong time, with everything else that was going on in the world. Maybe it was the wrong time to try to watch something like this. But then when I
Yes.
went back and gave it another chance later, I'm like, okay, no, this doesn't suck. This is still pretty good. But I think
Yes.
even though there's nothing really special to the opening, I think for me, what draws me in, as we were talking about it a while ago, but is Tony Collette's performance. I think that's what gets a hold of you in the beginning to get your attention.
Exactly. When soon as she starts talking, and you can just feel that she's giving it everything she's got for this role,
Yeah.
and you, it's hard. Yeah, you're gonna fall in love with her performance right from the get go because
Right.
it's some of the best acting in horror movie history, probably. Like,
Yeah.
it's kind of crazy how well she does.
No, I completely agree. And even though we talked about like none of the characters being that likable, eh, here in the beginning, it's just that you almost feel sorry for her. Like you really feel for her. She's given such a great performance, and it's not that you don't like her in the beginning; you just feel bad for her. It's a little
Yeah.
bit later on when she gets unlikable, but at the beginning, you just feel for her.
Yep. It's a great emotional roller coaster of a
Yeah.
whole movie where you'll like her for a few minutes, and then you'll hate her for a few, and it's kind of
Yeah.
like that for all the characters.
Yeah,
Like,
it really is. It's true.
as you walk through it.
So the second thing then I want to mention, my second note here, and I remember this part. So there's this party that Peter, her son, wants to go to, and she makes him take his sister Charlie with him. We find out Charlie has this nut allergy. She ends up eating some cake that has walnuts in it. Starts having issue, and so he throws her in the car and takes off to the hospital. And we have this accident. And I remember when I saw this in the theater, that it's so funny how it can affect you at different times, but that blew my mind when I saw it in the movie because I kind of had an idea of what this was about, but I did not expect that. Like that just shocked the hell out of me, and I think that's where the movie started to grab my attention because I was like, "What the fuck just happened?" Like it's so
Yeah.
crazy.
Yeah. The first time I seen it, I looked over at my wife Kayla and my daughters, and I said, "That's almost like Psycho level."
Yeah,
With Psycho being one of my most favorite movies of all time, have the killing off your character there
yeah, the
about a
little
half
girl.
hour in. It's like, okay, this director's obviously a huge fan of Psycho because he's feeling it, but he
Yeah,
did it well. Because I honestly, all the trailers that I watched leading up to this movie, it was a long time ago at this point, but
sure.
I remember not knowing that was going to happen at all. I'm thinking, okay, this this girl's the main character, and the grandma's done something to her, and she's gonna be
Right.
possessed, and that's where we're going. And
And
then
she's
there's a
making
fight.
that noise, that kind of thing.
Yeah,
'Cause you see a lot of, so yeah, I was the same way. I thought, okay, she's going to be a big part of this. And then when she rolls down the window and he hits that pole and decapitates her, yeah, my brother and I in the movies, we both looked at each other just like, what the fuck? Like that
yeah.
was crazy.
And
So, but
a
yeah, it
couple
definitely pulled me in.
couple minutes later, too, like in the movie, about 5 minutes later, when they just flash her rotting head on the ground full
Yeah,
of
they're on the road.
maggots. It's just like, okay, now this movie is a horror movie. We're going into that direction.
Yeah, we took a little bit of a turn there. Um, so Peter, I'm guessing, I mean, obviously he's just in shock, but so then he basically just goes home, leaves the body in the car, and then the next morning, Annie finds it and you hear her screaming, and he's just laying there in bed. Looks like he probably never went to sleep. Like he's just laying there in shock.
Yeah,
Um,
excellent scene there. I think like
yeah, I
the
agree
whole
completely.
just building that up, because you can feel what he's feeling in that moment. Like, so if you went out and smoked some dope with your friends and you're like a 14-year-old boy, and something like that happened, you would be too terrified to even tell
Yeah,
your parents. You'd just be like, go in your room and fucking hide, basically.
right.
So it really does a good job at making you feel in that section, that scene.
Yeah, I completely agree. And I think this is where the movie, I mean, even though it starts with the funeral, um, this is where the movie starts to take that depressing turn as well,
Oh
because
yeah,
you've got, he's obviously struggling. He's in shock. He's tore up. Um, Annie's now, she's just lost her mom. Now she's lost her daughter. So she's devastated, but she's also incredibly pissed at Peter. And, she becomes very resentful towards him, very angry with him all the time. And you've got just the dad trying to keep the peace. And uh, everybody in the movie is miserable, and you're feeling it too. Like you feel miserable watching this movie.
oh yeah, yeah. And it's because of their lack of communication skills.
Yeah.
Like the reason why they're all so depressed and miserable is because no one will talk to each other.
Yeah.
Like she needed to go sit down with her son and like have him explain to her everything that happened so that he can
Right.
let out his emotion
Yeah.
and apologize and kiss and make up. But nope, they're just like,
Yeah.
we're not talking. We're just gonna hold it in until we fucking explode.
Yeah, pretty much. And then you also get from there, Annie, she becomes friends with Joan at the support group. Um, Joan, ends up being the one that teaches her how to perform the seance. Again, the first time I saw this film, I had no idea the level of Joan's involvement. Um, but I'm
Nope,
also going
me
to say
either.
even that threw me off because I didn't see, and we'll get into it here in a little bit, but I was almost thinking initially, like, this is a nice lady that's been through this and is really trying to help her. I had no idea where they were going with her character either.
No, and it's crazy because we've seen this storyline. Like
Yeah.
we've seen this whole possession, like witchcraft, culty storyline
Right.
at least a dozen times,
Oh,
and
yeah, absolutely.
the fact that it keeps you guessing, even though it's going in the same direction every one of them have ever gone in,
Yeah,
it's
I agree.
fucking
And
crazy.
again, that goes back to, I mean, I don't want to just like keep repeating myself, but I think that just goes back to, again, performances because even I forgot the lady's name now. I mentioned it a while ago, but
Mhm.
even the lady that's playing Joan is doing a great job.
Yep.
She doesn't come across as some creepy witch like lady. Like she seems
Yeah,
like a really sweet woman that's trying to help.
exactly. You can't feel the sinister coming out of her at all.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. And so then we get to, we're about halfway through the film, pretty close to halfway through the film. Um, and things are going to start to shift now a little bit because now Annie's going to do this seance. And she's brought Peter in, she's brought her husband in, she wants them to see this, she thinks she's figured this out. And in the her process of her trying to do this a little bit, some things start to move around, and I think Peter gets even more freaked out because now not only is he tore up with the guilt of everything that's happened, now he's also scared. um,
Yeah.
and I think
Yep.
the husband gets scared too. Like he doesn't really know what to do either. He's been trying to keep peace in the family, and now he's wondering if his wife is going crazy. But then he sees this
Exactly.
shit happen too, and he's just like, "What the hell?" It's
Yes.
almost like he gets angry about it. Honestly, yeah,
Yeah, he doesn't know how to respond because he's
right,
just like a typical old school type man that has a certain way of thinking and he's not going to budge on it.
yeah,
And that's it, but he's going to have to. And
right.
That's but
Um,
yeah,
and
brutal.
I didn't, I mean, we've got the seance going on. I still didn't find the film. I still haven't been scared in the movie. I got shocked when we had that decapitation scene,
Yep, shock for
but
sure.
nothing has really felt scary in the film. But I think that starts. I really think we start to pick up the horror vibe now because you kind of start to get the impression that Annie. She thinks that Charlie's ghost is there, but she also thinks this ghost has become vengeful. Like she feels like her daughter's angry, and wanting to get some kind of vengeance out. And I think she starts seeing like she's looking through Charlie's sketchbook and she sees a lot of crazy images that are freaking her out a little bit. Um, she ends up throwing the book in the fire. Her clothes catch fire. Um, she ends up going through her mom's stuff and she starts finding out her mom was a part of this coven. She sees pictures of her mom with Joan. So you really start to get all of this stuff now the that we didn't know was going on that's starting to go on that's really starting to lay this out a little bit.
Yes.
Um, as this started to happen, where she sees the picture of Joan with her mom, did you start to figure out at that point what was going on as far as, I mean, obviously you've got this coven now and you've got these witches and things happening, but did you know where it was going as far as the son's involvement? Or were you still trying to piece it together?
No, at this point, the first time I watched it, I'm definitely sitting at okay, now we know what the movie is. We got
Right.
ourselves a witch coven movie.
Yeah.
But where it decides to take it and how far they go, I think is practically impossible to guess.
Yeah.
Because usually in these movies, there's some sort of like even a little bit of happiness,
Right.
but they're not
And it's not
deciding
here.
to
Yeah.
go there. They're just gonna blast you soon.
Yeah. Yeah, I completely agree. I think at that point, maybe when she finds her mom's headless corpse in her attic, I believe is when that happens
Yep.
next. But
Yep.
I think again, this goes back to just how well Ari Aster did with this because we're over halfway through this movie now. Like we've been watching this for an hour, and with the exception of the decapitation and a few little things here and there, really nothing has happened
Yep.
major, but there've been just enough. Like I think he does such a great job that he's given you just enough little pieces here and there that it's got you pulled in. I mean,
That's
like you
right.
said, you've realized, okay, we've got this witch and these this coven thing going on now. So let's see where it goes. It's just enough to pull you into it
That's
without giving too much at all.
100% true. It's what makes him. It's hard to. It's hard because I want to call him an unbelievable director, but the guy's got 3 movies under his belt, and the
Yeah,
other 2 for me aren't like some people love them, but they're not this.
no, I
They're
completely agree.
way less.
Um,
It's crazy.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. I'm with you because I watched this movie and see the way he's done this, and I'm like, this guy is incredible. But I don't like anything he's done since. I mean, I really don't.
No,
So,
I'm in
uh,
the same boat. They're not
yeah,
horrible movies. His next 2, but they're not great. They're
I think they're I don't know. I think the next two they've got that long, slow burn feel, and they just don't do what this movie does as far as just giving me enough here and there to pull me in, like this one
exactly.
does. Yeah, so that's why I think I struggle with those. But um, where this movie goes next is obviously it doesn't scare me now, but again, it just kind of shocked me a little bit. Is Peter's at school and he sees Joan outside his school, and she's yelling at him and trying to do things, and then it's like he suddenly becomes possessed for a minute and just slams his face off his desk, and it just again just like the scene where the daughter gets decapitated, when he slammed his face off that desk, I don't know how they did that because it looked so real and he looked so fucked up afterwards that again my brother and I just look at each other like, what the hell is going on now? Like, what is this?
Yes, it's kind of where the movie. This is the beginning of the end here,
Yeah,
and it's disturbing actually. Like
it really is. I agree.
because you feel for him. Like in my opinion, I have the most sympathy for his character at this point in the
Okay.
movie because he's just fucked up of what he did to his sister.
Right.
Technically, he didn't do anything to her, but he feels 100% guilty, and the
Sure.
mom's disowning him, and
Right.
no, like it's awful. And then now he's the first character to get a brutal possession, and the
Yeah.
the face smashing off the death scene. It could be. It's one of the best like jump scares I've seen in
Yeah, I agree. That's a good
probably
way to put
since
it.
this movie. To be
Yeah.
honest, like it's a quick like holy shit,
Yeah,
shiver
no, I
down your
completely
spine.
agree. And like you said, it's disturbing. Um, yeah, it's very disturbing. And then coming up, then we're going to get to what I felt like was the scariest part of the film. And you and I were talking. We've both watched so many horror movies that you get very desensitized to things and things that just don't scare you anymore. There's a part coming up here that I'm going to mention that it's still watching it. I watched this movie a couple of days ago, getting ready for you and I to review it, and I knew the scene was coming, and it still made me feel uncomfortable. And it's the scene where she tries to get her husband to burn the book, right? And he doesn't want to do it, so she throws it in the fire, and he ends up bursting into flames. And that's
Yes.
when it seems like then she becomes possessed. And so
Yeah.
Peter has come downstairs and he's looking around for her. And there's just a couple of scenes like where you see her on a wall, like up in a corner,
Yeah.
and then there's like she's running across the wall. And again, I go back and credit Ari Aster for this because you've seen those scenes in so many things,
Yes.
so many times
Yep.
that you would think I've seen this before. This is not that big a deal.
Yep.
But
The
the way
Conjuring.
he
The
put it,
Conjuring
yeah,
movie does it as
absolutely.
well. So the demon's up on top of the wardrobe at one point.
Yes.
Same kind of scene.
Yeah. But the way he does it in this film, the first time I saw it, I'm not gonna lie, in the movies, that scene scared the hell out of me. I was like, "Whoa, what the fuck?" That's
He's
creepy as shit.
we're
I'm
just
like,
up in the corner of the room,
yes,
on the 4K you can see it a lot more clearly as
yes, I
well.
agree.
You can actually see her up there, and it's more clear on the Blu-ray. I just remember watching or on streaming or however I
Yeah,
watched it the first time I watched it. I remember barely even being able to see her.
you almost miss it. It's the fact that she kind of moves and scampers across the wall at one point, or I think you would miss it. But I agree with you. Having it on 4K makes it so much better because you can see her there, just like waiting for a minute first,
Yes, yeah.
um, and that's the scene I was talking about because now I know that scene's coming. I know that that's there, and it still makes me uncomfortable when I see that for some reason.
Yeah,
So yeah, it's just
I
very, very well done.
in all honesty, these witchcraft and demonic possession type movies, they're kind of the only movies anymore that can have that effect on me.
Yeah,
Like they still do get me once in a while, like fingernails breaking.
right.
Like a lot of demonic movies love to just zoom in on someone snapping all their fingernails off or
Yeah,
something. That kind of shit does me in, and these witchcraft movies are right down that alley.
yeah, they're more successful at it. I think there's a couple of movies that can still do it, and I think sometimes maybe it's just more of a nostalgia thing with some movies. I just recently, not to get off track, but I recently went through the entire Halloween franchise, right, on my
Yep.
channel.
Yeah, I watched
And
all those.
especially in that first one, the chase scene between Michael and Lori, when she goes across the street to the other girl's house, and then Michael's, she's running back and trying to get in, and he's coming across the street, and then the stuff that goes on the house. I still, to this day, I mean, I've seen that movie more times than I can count. I still feel tension when I watch that part, but maybe it's a nostalgia thing for me because most of the time it doesn't work in those kind of movies. It's these kind of movies that can pull that off.
Yeah, yeah. Slashers can get it. It's hard with it's hard with slashers because they have made them all so comical. The
Yeah,
sequels, it's
right,
really hard to like you're saying, it's nostalgic because you watched the original Halloween probably first a long,
right.
long time ago, and so you have that built in. But if you were to like watch all the sequels and then watch the original, you wouldn't be scared at all because you're just
Yeah,
looking forward to Michael killing some people, right?
right, right.
But I get where you're going there, though.
Yeah, well, and I think you're right. I think and that's why I say nostalgia because, again, not to be off track and turn this into a Halloween thing, but
Yeah,
because they
don't get
do make it
started on
so,
that.
yeah,
We'll be here
they
for
do
four
make it
hours.
so comical later on that you kind of miss the way it was in the beginning. And I think that's why I still love that scene so much and feel it because I wish we got more of that in the franchise. There are a couple of other movies that have moments, but yeah, that's for another time. We
Yeah, we'll
won't
do it
keep
on the
going
next
on
episode.
Halloween. Yeah, there we go. So next year, as we get to the conclusion of this movie, here is the part that I don't know. At this part, for just a brief moment, and it even happened the first time I watched it because I'm really enjoying this. I've just had really my first scare of the movie, and then all of a sudden we're in the house and these naked coven members start showing up. Like there's this old naked
this
man
part's
standing in the
brutal.
doorway. And I remember in the theater because I've been loving this movie. I've just been scared, and now suddenly there's this old naked guy in the doorway, and I'm just like, wait, what?
I know.
Why
This
did
is
we
the
go this
part
way with
where
it?
my youngest daughter got up and left the room at this moment. She was out. This is the end of the movie for her.
Yeah, and again, that was probably like the third time in the movie my brother and I stopped and looked at each other, but for a totally different reason now. Before we've been like amazed and thought this was so great, and now we're just looking at each other like, what the hell are we doing? Like, what
Yep.
happened all of a sudden?
They're gonna
And it's
throw
not
like
that,
80-year-olds
yeah,
naked
exactly.
at
That's the
you for the
thing.
next 10 minutes.
Because it's not that I'm against nudity in movies. I mean, I'm all for it, but not 80-year-olds. Come on
That
now.
it matches the theme though,
I
right?
guess so. It's
It's just
uncomfortable.
deep more depression thrown at you. It's like this is what you're gonna look like in a couple
Yeah,
decades. People
yeah, I
look at
guess
this
so.
and they're
I
like, take
just,
that.
yeah, I don't know. And I guess I'm even somewhat surprised that they find actors that'll do this shit because, like,
Especially that many.
I'm in my 50s, and I'm not gonna be naked in a movie. Nobody wants to see that shit. Like, it's just not gonna happen. But
Not too many of us would. It takes a certain kind of person that wants to walk
yeah,
around
but
showing their junk in movies.
they found a group that'll do it, I guess. So, and before we carry on, and I didn't realize this, I wanted to ask you about this because I listened to gosh, I don't even remember what it was. I was listening to a podcast the other day as well that was talking about this film, and they mentioned that for this scene, that these few different naked characters that you see was the same people that were at her mother's funeral, and
Oh,
they
okay.
were also some of the same people that were in that support group. And so it's almost like they've been watching and surrounding the family the entire time, and they just didn't realize it. I
Yes.
hate
Yeah.
that I missed that because that does add some creepiness to it. I didn't realize that was the same people. I
Yeah, it's
wish I would
probably
have
the
because
only people they've talked to throughout the whole movie, probably.
yeah,
Like
exactly. Yeah,
it's
and it adds some creepiness to there that when I heard this on that other podcast, I was like, "Damn, I almost want to go back and watch this again now just because I want to see if I recognize anybody."
yeah, and all the background. I bet you actually, now that you're saying that, because I knew that too. But I bet you they don't even talk to other characters in the movie other than cult members. I bet you it's
Right.
like all cult members
Yeah, yeah, you're
that
probably right. I just thought
infiltrate
that
into
was pretty
life.
cool. You finally then, we kind of get the end of Annie chasing Peter. The scene comes up now where she's basically going to cut her own head off with this piano wire. It's
Yep,
brutal. It's so graphic. It's so brutal. But at the same time, it's such a great scene. I just think this scene is so good.
it is the way she's looking down.
Yeah,
Uh,
the expression on her face. Yeah.
it's very. It. This is where you. This is where I feel for her now, like a lot, and it's like, geez, like this. It's so hard to explain because it's such an like unrelentless torture movie where
Yeah.
it's gonna hurt, just destroy you basically.
Right.
I couldn't imagine showing this to somebody that like my mom or something that's
Oh,
never
yeah.
watched horror. She would
Right.
probably like be going the power of Christ compels me. Like she'd be freaking out,
Yeah.
man. But
Yeah.
it's brutal.
It is. And you made a good point. It is. It's unrelenting. I mean, you go from they're just all just depressed and destroyed for half the film, and now suddenly they're possessed and they're tormented and they're just getting destroyed in a
Dying,
completely different way. Yeah, and
yeah,
it's just like damn, he
dying
just
horrible
doesn't
death.
stop. Like you feel so bad for the whole family. Like this whole family just got fucked up because of her mother basically.
Yes,
Yeah.
yeah, all because of the grandma.
Yeah. um
Fucking
the ending of the
grandmas.
film then, I'm still trying to decide even now as you and I are talking about this is the one part of this movie that I still can't decide what I think about. So
Yep.
Peter jumps out the window, um and there's this like glowing thing that seems to enter his body while he's laying there on the ground, um and now he seems to like change and he's Charlie now, right? Like now he's his sister.
I'm
That's the
assuming,
impression that I'm getting from this
yeah,
happening.
and like we said earlier, this is where the artsy
Yeah,
up in the air movies lose me a little bit, but this one at
right,
least gives you like they probably summoned their demon, like,
right.
right,
Because
that they got the
yeah,
job done. They needed to sacrifice the whole family kind of thing.
well, and they made a point to mention throughout the movie, and we kind of really haven't touched on it, that this demon, and I did not write the demon's name down. I've just completely drawn a blank. I don't know
I
if it's on the back of the case or not, but
I don't know it
um,
either. I can't remember.
damn, I know it starts with a P, but I just completely drew a blank. But so this demon wants to possess a male body.
Yes.
Um, but again, something else that I had read on this film afterwards, and um, I read that Ari Aster confirmed that yes, this is true. So I wanted to touch on that at the end. I'll come back to it in just a second. So Peter jumps out the window. This thing enters his body. He seems to become Charlie. Um, all of these, these coven people. Peter goes into the treehouse. That's where this entire coven is. They're all standing around naked, and they seem to be worshiping this mannequin that they've put the daughter's head on.
Yeah.
And Joan then is there. She ends up taking the crown off and putting the crown on Peter, and then they start proclaiming that he is now this demon, that he's become this king. And so they're all kind of worshiping him, and he's just standing there with this crown and this odd look on his face, and that's basically the end of the film. So
Yeah.
what I had heard, and again, this I did not know this until just a few days ago. It was probably that same podcast, but apparently it's been confirmed by Ari Aster, is that, and it kind of, again, I want to watch the movie again now to see if I can see that, but it is that because of this grandmother's involvement and the fact that this has all been kind of part of the family for all this time. And in the beginning, Annie mentions that she completely kept uh, her mom away from her son. But then when she had her daughter, she started letting her mom be involved more.
Yes.
What I have heard, Ari Aster confirmed, is that the reason for that is because initially uh, there's a theory that Charlie is actually possessed the entire film. That because of the mother, this demon has attached itself to the girl, but
Yeah.
she has to die so that he can then attach to her brother. Because that's who they wanted, was the brother, but the mom kept Annie kept her mother away from the son, so they had to
Oh,
go through the
okay.
little girl first in
Yeah.
order to get to him.
That makes
Um,
sense.
it does, and it helps explain this to me a little bit because back to what we were talking about, the movie did lose me a little bit here. I didn't like the glowing orb because all this
Yeah.
time everything has been, either
Dark.
depressing or tense or scary, very dark, and then suddenly like this glowing orb out of fucking nowhere that's
Yeah,
not
it's
been
like
talked about anywhere
angelic
is
instead of
there.
demonic, right? It
What the
feels
hell is this?
weird.
And then I thought that the treehouse scene was so weird, and I was kind of having a hard time. I mean, I get it; they've got the little girl's head on this thing, and now they're proclaiming him the king. And I did remember that they were saying this demon wanted a male body, so I was like, oh, okay, I guess that's what's happening. But I remember being a little lost at the very end of the movie.
Yep.
Um, even the first time I saw it, and then when I've rewatched it a couple of times, and even when I watched it a couple of days ago, that was the one thing when I finished the movie, because that was the first time I had watched it in 4K, and I finished the movie, and I'm like, okay, I still really like this. Other than the end, I still don't know what the fuck just happened at the end of this movie until
I
I
know.
listened to this other podcast the other day, and again, they say that Ari Aster said yes, that is the intention, that is the thought behind the movie. That
I'll
helps
accept that.
that helps the end make sense now.
Yes,
Basically, yeah,
it's reasonable. And a
yeah.
lot of the
So
times, like these, when they make these art house pictures, they want the ending to feel like a thinker, and it's not because they're geniuses like they try to proclaim. It's
right,
because it's marketing. Like when
hmm,
we walk out of that theater, it's in your mind now. Like now you're
right,
thinking and you're like, what the fuck did I just watch? And you start talking to your friends about it.
yeah,
It's a marketing ploy, and then they come up with, well, this is what it actually meant. This
right,
person did this, but it usually makes sense when you find the
yeah,
explainers. Like It's just I'm not smart enough to usually figure these out by myself.
Yeah, me neither. But I see what you're saying, and I think I agree with you completely because, I talked to when I saw this at the theater the first time, and I went home, I was doing that exact thing. There were several parts of this film that just kept playing over in my head. Like I got home and I went to bed and I was laying there and I was like, man, that scene where that little girl gets decapitated, like I did not see that coming. And then, I'm thinking a little bit more, and I'm like, and when he slams his face down on the desk, and then like his mom's possessed and crawling around on the wall, and then she cuts her own fucking head off. Like I'm thinking about all these different things and how
Just
cool it
naked
was.
old
Yeah,
people
and then all of a sudden I
everywhere.
stop and I'm like, but why at the end? Like, why was everybody naked? Why was there a glowing light? But I mean, there were so many different things of the movie that just, even the stuff I didn't understand, it was staying with me. I was trying to figure it out. So yeah, I can see what you're saying there as far as it being a marketing thing.
Yes, it definitely is. So, and this one isn't that unreal. Like that's, I think that's why I like this one so much more than your average art house movie, and it's because I just this one feels like it's you can figure it out and put an ending together with it, even if
Right.
it doesn't make 100% sense. It's doable. I've watched some where it ends, and I'm just like, oh man, and then you look up the explainer
Yeah.
and it's like this person is reaching to try to put an ending to this. Like it's like
Right.
okay, sure, but yeah.
Yeah. No, I agree. Anything else about the movie that we didn't talk about that you want to, a scene that you really like, or just something else as far as the way you feel about this one, or your thoughts on this one that you want to talk about?
You hit all the great scenes, but I also really like the score
Okay.
when there is one. Like it doesn't
Yeah.
work with a lot of score, but it just has that like that
Yeah.
like that light bass line type
Right.
score. I
No, I can.
enjoy that.
Yeah, the score
It
it is
sucks
good.
you
I
in.
agree with that. Yeah. Yeah, I like the score for this one as well. And like you said, there's not a lot. It's not like it's just this major thing that it's not like it's got this great theme that's going to stick with you like some movies, right?
No,
But what it does have serves its purpose. Like it works.
that's right. Yeah, you're not
Yeah.
like I barely even remember how to mimic the score.
Yeah.
But I remember when I was watching the movie, it feels heart pulsing. So it
Right.
was like it matches so well because that's what this whole movie is. It's just your heart going boom, boom, boom like the whole freaking time.
Yeah. Yeah, I
It's
completely agree.
crazy.
Okay. Well, so one thing that I do differently now, and if you probably heard me do it on some of my other episodes, I just recently changed this. So I used to rate my movies 1 to 5,
Yep.
and I changed that. And the reason I changed it was because when I was going through the Halloween franchise, like I was talking about, and I was reviewing each movie, and when I got to that last episode and I was trying to rank them, I had so many that kind of had the same number in that 1 to 5 scale. And then I'm like, okay, I've got like three of these at a 3. What do I
Yep.
like better? It was hard for me to kind of break it down to rank things. And so at that point, I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna expand this. Like I'm gonna do 1 to 10. So
Okay.
on a scale of 1 to 10, what would you give Hereditary?
Um. Ah, shoot, man. It's
Put you on the
really,
spot.
it's really hard. I like on a 5 point scale, I'd give it a 5. On a 10 point scale, I'd probably go like a 9.5.
Okay.
I think that this movie is practically perfect, and
Okay.
and in the genre that it's doing, I it might be the best. Like I've seen a lot of these culty witch movies going all the way back into the late 50s, and this one I think he freaking nails the. I don't think we'll ever see another culty witch movie
Mhm.
that is as good as this one in my lifetime. But with
Okay.
that said, I'm not the artsy ending. I'll
Yeah.
drop it a half point for that reason, just because I would have liked it to be just straightforward. Just give it to me
Sure.
straight. We know it's a cult. The demon summoned. Even if like they just said that he's the demon,
Right.
I would have been. It'd probably be a 10 out of 10.
Okay.
I'm just picky on that art house stuff. It bugs me.
Yeah.
So I'm
No,
just steal a point from
I
it.
completely I agree with I think I agree with just about everything you said. I don't rate it quite as high as you do, but that's
Yep.
because I mean, because honestly, for the most part, and you know me pretty well, I'm a slasher guy.
Yes.
That's my favorite stuff, and it can be cheesy. I mean, it can be ridiculous, and if it's a slasher, I don't hardly ever give a 9 or a 10 to anything that's not a slasher. I mean, I just very,
Yep.
very seldom would I do that because that's my thing. And movies like Hereditary are really not my thing. There are very few that I like. I mean, a lot of times this kind of movie, I would be thinking like 5, 6, like something like that. I would have it way down. But
That's the truth.
this one blows my mind so much that I agree with you. The end is really the only issue I have with this movie, where it starts getting a little too artsy for my taste. Um, because
Yep.
it just I don't know, it threw me off at the end. I didn't like the way they did some of that. Um, and so for me, I'm going to say an 8,
Yeah, and
which
that's perfect because
yeah,
the way you just explained your review
yeah,
is that means that it's a 10 to somebody that loves
yes.
that this
Yeah, if
genre.
this movie's your kind of thing, that's a 10. Because for me to rank something like this an 8 means I absolutely love the movie.
Yeah, because you're
It's
not supposed
just,
to. Like this should
yeah,
be a movie you're given like a 6 or a 5
yeah,
or something, right?
exactly. But this one did it for me. Other than that end, I just really didn't like the end, and so because it's not my usual thing, and that ending bothers me, I feel pretty good about giving it an 8. So yeah,
That's awesome.
yeah.
Yeah, I
So
honestly didn't know whether you would like it or not. I remember a couple like a year and a half ago, I think I heard you talk about this movie once. It might have been with me on like one of Brennan and Sam's podcasts or something,
mhm.
but I just remember you saying you weren't the biggest fan of it. So I thought that it was probably going to be like, okay, he's going to give it like probably like a 3 or something.
Gotcha. More
But
middle.
yeah,
Well, yeah, and that's what I was saying earlier. Like, my opinion, I really feel like it had to be the time that I tried to watch it because I loved it when I came out of the theater. I absolutely loved it. I would have probably, at that time, let's say on the 1 to 5, I would have said probably a 4. I mean, I really did love it when I came out of the theater. It just wasn't a slasher, but it was as good as it could have been without being a slasher for me.
yep,
But then when I rewatched it that second time, I don't know again if it was because here where I live, we had just pretty much shut everything down and we're locked in because of COVID and nobody could go anywhere. So,
same here.
you're already struggling with some of that kind of shit. And it's not that I don't really go out that much anyway,
Me
but just the
neither.
fact that I couldn't was
I
driving
know.
me crazy.
I
And
know.
so I think there was just so much going on that watching a depressing movie was just not a good idea for me because I hated it. And I was like, yeah, I don't know why I liked this movie so much. Again, this movie sucks. And that's just the way I felt for the longest time.
Yeah.
But then when I decided to give it a rewatch again, I finally started finding myself a little bit more in the middle. I'm like, okay, this movie doesn't suck. It's pretty good. I don't know if it's as good as I thought, but it's pretty good. But when I turned
Yeah.
it on a couple of days ago and watched it for you and I to record this, I was like, no, it's really good. Like I really like this movie. So yeah,
Even here's the thing: even if you're someone that doesn't like witch movies, you hate demonic possession type movie, you just just critiquing it on how well it's made and acted by itself
yes,
is like anybody that would watch this and be like, that movie was garbage. I'd be like, well, can you explain what was garbage? And then all they would say is, I just don't like those kind of movies. That's I guess that's
yeah.
fine, but I mean, Tony Collette's performance is worth like at least half the score alone,
Oh,
right?
absolutely. Yeah,
It's
I
like,
agree. I agree.
but
Yeah,
yeah,
it's really good. So all right. Well, that will wrap up Hereditary. Bo, why don't you go ahead and plug your channel one more time and kind of tell people what you've got coming up?
sure, yeah. I'm usually over on our friends Brendan and Sam's channel, Our Life in Horror.
Mhm.
I go on there like probably once every couple of weeks. So if you guys are
Okay.
subscribed over there, I'll plug their channel. There we go.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like they need it, but plug them anyway. Um, yeah. So I think uh, me and you are actually going on their channel in a couple
Yeah,
about a week and a half for Sam's
I think
birthday,
that's
right?
right. Yeah, I believe so.
So
Yep.
that's probably the next time I'll be on anything on my own channel. I am just gonna pull out my next section of movies and do probably a 2 hour marathon video where I'm just showing off my collection and trying to break through some more of it. But yeah, and I'm working on 1981. I've watched about 6 already since.
Okay.
I got a lot to go though, so it'll probably be a couple weeks on that one.
All right. Okay. Well, and so what I've got coming up, my next episode will be on the Black Phone. I'll be doing
Ooh,
something on that here in just a few days. So I'll have that one coming up. And then I think from there, I'm still trying to figure out exactly how to do it. I haven't got all the details figured out yet. In fact, I'm going to have to talk to Sam and kind of let her guide me through how to do it. But I think from there, my next one will probably end up being that first live that I do. And I think you're going to come on for that, right?
I will totally be on for that.
Okay. I know we're going to have you, Brendan, and Sam again from Our Life in Horror will be on there. And I may also, I think I'm also going to reach out to Aaron from A&B Horror and see if he'll come on with us. And
Yeah,
just kind of have a little group. And we are going to rank some shark movies, talk about our 5 favorite shark movies on there. And that'll be June 1st for my first live. So
yeah.
that's what I've got.
I've already bought like 4 movies for that episode.
I think I was looking the other day. I think when I finally figured out what my 5 were, and then I went back and looked at my collection, I think I have 4 of them. So I'm like, oh shit, I've got to go get one more real quick before this comes out.
I was missing one of the big dogs, so I was like, I won't reveal it yet. Obviously, no spoilers, but
Yeah.
I was missing one of the big dogs that I knew would be in my top 5.
Okay.
So I had to buy it, and I'll talk about it on that episode and show it
So,
off and everything.
and I'm gonna ask you a question off air because I'm curious how you're doing something. But yeah, so and of course, everybody, if you haven't subscribed yet, please hit the button. Really do appreciate that. I try to get videos out every Monday and every Thursday, and then occasionally I also put one up on a Saturday, just kind of doing a bonus. I also have a brief bonus episode that's up now. I went and saw Final Destination Bloodline. It's just kind of my quick reaction to that. So yeah, you could also find me on social media. I'm on just about everything: Blue Sky, Instagram, um, X, TikTok. I created a Threads account today. Yeah, I'm out there on everything. So just follow me on
Getting her
Sean's Horror
done.
Corner. Yeah, I'm trying to promote this thing. But yeah, thank you all so much for watching. And yeah, I'll be back in a couple of days to talk about the Black Phone. Thank you all.